The George Street Revitalization Project is a City of Toronto Council-approved initiative that will see the reinvention of the northernmost block of George Street and transform Seaton House Men's Shelter into a world-class facility providing specialized care for vulnerable populations, including a long-term care home, a transitional living facility, an emergency shelter, affordable housing, and a community hub serving residents of both the site and the local neighborhood. The George Street Revitalization will be the catalyst for a more safe and vibrant community for traditionally marginalized communities. George Street is located in the Moss Park area of Toronto and runs north-south, from Gerrard Street in the north to Front Street in the south. The area is home to a large population of homeless, marginalized, and people struggling with drug and mental health issues.
Hello, my name is Dimitri Martinovich and you're watching RPTV News, and on today's episode we will be speaking with Aderonke Akande, manager with the City of Toronto. Aderonke works in the Social Development, Finance and Administration Department. We will be speaking with her about the George Street Revitalization Project and in particular the Community Hubs component at the News Centre. Welcome, Aderonke. You're on RPTV News, and it's wonderful to meet you. Before we begin our interview, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about the work that you do at the City of Toronto and that kind of thing.
Sure, and thank you, Dimitri, for having me. So I'm Aderonke Akande. I'm the manager of the Tower Neighborhood Revitalization Unit with the Social Development, Finance and Administration Division at the City of Toronto, which is fantastic, but a bit of a mouthful. So in that work, there are basically three program areas that I work with. One is a program called Tower Renewal that the city has had for a number of years, focusing on supporting improvements in older apartment towers across the city. There's over 1,000 older apartment towers and communities across the city. So we really focus on that with that program. We have another program called Neighborhood Revitalization, where we look at neighborhoods that are experiencing change, and we provide some support through action plans or, what might be familiar to some of your viewers, social development plans similar to the one that that was put in place with Regent Park, to help to guide how change will happen and how community continues as that change happens. So looking at things like services and safety and a number of different issues that are brought to bear. So that's our neighborhood revitalization work. And then the final piece of work that is part of my role and my team's role is looking at community space and how space is activated in different neighborhoods to help to provide services that are needed. We have a portfolio of space with the city that we provide at below market rates to agencies so that services can be brought into communities where there's needs. That work, both the revitalization and the community space work, touches on something that we do in some locations, which is bring community hubs into play. And that's one of the pieces that's of interest, I think, in this conversation with respect to the work that's coming up on on George Street.
Right. So the George Street Revitalization is a huge project. It is pooling together of multiple social service agencies and also reimagining what that part of George Street, Upper George Street, might look like. Can you talk about the overall concept behind the revitalization of George Street and why this is such an important project?
Certainly, and I know that there are many different divisions within the city that are involved with the work at George one of the prime impetuses for a prime impetus for that work really was looking at the desire to revamp and upgrade and revitalize the shelter facility, the Seaton shelter facility, and the need for that to really be refreshed and revitalized, so that it can continue to serve the community, but in a better way. What's happening with George Street is a large scale revitalization, bringing in a number of services. So a shelter facility, a long-term care facility, some housing supports, and as well as this integrated community service hub, which is the piece that Social Development, Finance and Administration is focusing on.
Now, in the Toronto downtown east side, where the new the Seaton House is now, and the new centre will be, there is a high number of low-income people. There are newcomers, racialized people, homeless people, people living with mental health and substance abuse issues, and an already high concentration of social service agencies. What impact do you think the new centre will have in that landscape, and how do you think it will fit into that complex mix of people needing services and service providers?
You mentioned that the range of population there, range of different individuals, and the needs that they may be experiencing. Whether it's that they're vulnerable, or particularly individuals who might be marginalized. The need for substance use supports, potentially the need for a number of different issues. Certainly people who are insufficiently housed and homeless and street involved in that way. So there are a number of different needs that are already occurring in the area, and the opportunity with the new, certainly the service hub, but the George Street Revitalization is to address those needs more fully. And I think the piece around services being in the area reflects the fact that there is a need for services in the area. The question is, how do we best coordinate those things? How do we ensure that needs are adequately addressed? One of the pieces of work that also is happening through my group and through Social Development, Finance and Administration is a project called the Downtown East Action Plan. Mm-hmm. And so part of that is really looking at the need to coordinate services, the need to get an understanding of what actions would be required in order to, create a better environment, safe and inclusive communities, opportunities to create better opportunities for stability for individuals who are marginalized, opportunities to collaborate across different groups and have integrated conversations about change that needs to happen and how it will happen. So George Street Revitalization and the Downtown East Action Plan are happening kind of at the same time, which I think creates a great opportunity to ensure that the service needs are really well responded to, and that the services provided in this integrated community hub address the needs that are coming up through the action plan and through other work that the city is doing.
The term community hubs generally refers to some sort of public space that brings together multiple services under one roof, and that meets the needs of a specific community or neighborhood. Do you think you can talk about the concept of community hubs and how and why they've become such an important tool in social service delivery?
Sure, that's a great question. So one of the pieces that we found is, and our experience, and the city certainly isn't the only entity that moves forward and advances community hubs. There's agencies or leadership groups, civic leadership groups. The United Way has launched hubs. The province has had an interest in hubs and supported some of that work. The city has a role in a number of hubs. Basically, to explain the idea, a community hub is really an opportunity, a space where particularly community agencies can come together and provide a coordinated, collaborated service delivery model. So the opportunity there is not only are there multiple services that people might want to access in one place, but it's also that they're working together. I know one of the hubs that the city supports in sort of the northwest part of the city. There's really a model there where the various agencies work together and support individuals that are coming in to access services in a joint way. So if you go to the legal service clinic in this particular hub, and have a need that may, connect with immigration services or some other service or community health, some other service that's located within the hub, those connections are made by the agencies. So it's, from a individual perspective, as somebody who's accessing services, it's really a model that helps to support people to access those things that they need in an integrated way, rather than having to kind of shop around and tell your story 15 different times in order to access the full picture of services you need. So that's an exciting thing about hubs, the ability for coordination, for integration, and also the ability for there to be spaces where community can connect. Often hubs include that space as well, so that communities have an opportunity for different points of connection to meet. Some hub spaces have meeting rooms that can be accessed, or community kitchens so that there can be gatherings or kind of collective dining events, or some sorts of community building activities that can also be supported within the space itself. So I think it's an exciting opportunity to have a hub space, a new hub space, integrated with the changes that are happening at George Street.
So would you say that in the new facility, the community hub presents an opportunity where less formal, less institutionalized way of accessing the various social services and other supports that will be happening there? Is that the premise or the concept, perhaps?
I think that, hub spaces can work in a number of different models, and I should say that, the precise programming, the exact programming that will be in place at George Street is something that we are starting to discuss now, and and also something that we will be going out and having conversations about. Certainly we have a sense of what some of the needs are, but we do want to get a sense of a fulsome sense of, here's the programming that we're envisioning. What is the community envisioning? What are they seeing as significant needs? So that's a conversation that's to happen. So it can be a more informal type of setup. I think it's often a combination of things, because there are agencies that provide services within that space, so that creates a certain level of particular structure, but there also can be less formal spaces that are programmed in a way or accessible in a way, and I think that's an opportunity with hubs.
Another question. in one way, the new center will be a kind of mega facility. Do you have any concerns about it having, that there might be new problems that might arise that because everything is so concentrated in that one place?
I think that the planning around how are these new services integrated, what does the facility look like, how does it work, how is it staffed? All of those conversations are part of the conversation now in the planning, to help to mitigate that. And I would say, remember that this is a space that has had services and has had needs. So it's not as though that wasn't the backdrop. I certainly think that the consideration and the thought and the planning and all of those pieces really help to put us into a much better position. And also the need, the fact that the services that are going to be in that site help to address, a number of needs, whether it's, long-term care facilities for those who are, aging and have been aging within shelter facilities or other facilities, or, the housing components or the hub components. All of those things speak to needs that are there. Are in the George Street area, and so the intentionality and the focus on planning and thinking about how those things work together, I think it puts us in a much better place to have success.
Well, I certainly look forward to seeing all of that come into being because, as you were saying so many times, there's a huge need in that area, and Seaton House was in trouble for a long time. But okay, great. Thank you very much. Is there anything else that you would like to say?
No, look forward to speaking with people as we're moving forward on the conversation around the programming and keeping the community up to date in terms of the progress on the integrated community hub.
Great. Thank you very much, Aderonke. And I hope that we can speak again sometime in the future when things are more developed.
Please do not forget to like, comment, and share to our channel. Follow us on all our social media platforms. And for more information, please check out our website.